he's accomplished nothing. He's not even a champion. And he's not even in my weight class already. And, you know, it's a lot of things there doesn't make sense. And plus, at this point in my career, I can do whatever I want.
Canelo didn't hold back. He sees Crawford as nothing more than a weak opponent. In his words, Crawford's accomplished nothing, holds no belts, and doesn't even belong in his weight class. And Canelo didn't stop there. He made it clear that his confidence isn't just talk, it's backed by how he feels in the ring. It's boxing, but nobody can beat me right now. And no disrespect to other boxers. There are some great boxers, but I feel at my best right now. I feel strong, he said with calm confidence. It wasn't just talk, it was a clear reminder of where he stands. Canelo knows the level he's operating at, and he's not seeing anyone who can match it. He's sharp, experienced, and still dangerous. While others chase headlines, he's focused on legacy. But not everyone's buying into Canelo's dominance. While many respect his achievements, some voices in boxing see things differently. One of them is former world champion and analyst Paulie Malignaggi, who weighed in with his own take on the Canelo versus Crawford debate. He didn't just challenge the idea, he flipped it on its head.
I was originally thinking Crawford might be too small. I think Crawford is a way more complete fighter than Canelo ever was. I think Crawford is just, the only risk here is Crawford's small. You think about it though, Duran was a former lightweight and he was able to beat Arum Barkley eventually, right? So it's not out of the question. And this Canelo is not the prime Canelo.
Paulie breaks down why he believes Crawford is actually the more complete fighter. He acknowledges the size difference but points to history. Smaller fighters have moved up and shocked the world before. To him, it's not just about weight, it's about skill. And in that department, he puts Crawford ahead. It's a bold opinion, but one that sparked real conversation across the boxing world. Despite the strong words, Canelo did take a moment to show respect. He may not see the fight as necessary, but that doesn't mean he's blind to Crawford's talent. In a separate interview, he acknowledged Crawford's skills and accomplishments. It was a rare moment of praise in the middle of a heated conversation.
The last one is Terence Crawford.
Good fighter.
Okay. All right.
Canelo called him a good fighter, recognizing what Crawford has done in the sport. But even with that respect, he stayed firm. Crawford still doesn't pose enough of a threat in his eyes. It was more of a nod than an opening. For Canelo, giving props doesn't change the facts as he sees them. He knows the game and he's careful about who truly earns a spot in his sights. But Paulie Malignaggi didn't stop at praising Crawford. He had sharp words for Canelo too. In another segment, he dug deeper into what he sees as the decline of Canelo's fighting spirit. For Paulie, it's not just about skill or record, it's about mindset in the toughest moments. And that's where he believes Canelo falls short.
This Canelo is also a Canelo who's trying to steal bags while half-assing it. When Canelo has been put in tough situations, in the moments where he's had to really dig down, what has he done? He hasn't really dug down and gone for broke in fights where he's been losing. He just kind of accepted the loss.
Like Bivol.
We saw that with Floyd too, or early on with Floyd too. People will say that he was young, but he never really took a risk in the Floyd fight once he was outclassed. He just accepted it, like, all right, this guy's outclassing him.
He pointed to key fights where Canelo didn't respond like a true warrior, especially when things weren't going his way. Paulie feels that the current version of Canelo isn't the same hungry fighter from years ago. Instead, he sees someone who's more focused on big paydays than legacy-defining performances. He even brought up past fights, like the one with Floyd Mayweather, as examples of Canelo folding under pressure. It's a harsh take, but one that's fueling real debate about where Canelo stands today. And just when the debate couldn't get any more intense, Paulie doubled down on his stance. He drew a sharp comparison between the mental edge of both fighters, pointing to something deeper than just skill or size. For him, it's about attitude, hunger, and how a fighter reacts when the pressure hits.
And I remember what I said about Crawford earlier in this interview. He is a guy who's reminds me of Floyd, and that he stays hungry, motivated, and wants to still be the best, has that mean streak in the ring. Not to say that Canelo doesn't have a mean streak, but I feel like once you start punching Canelo a few times in the face, that mean streak ain't so mean anymore. You know what I mean? He punks out a little bit. So while Crawford, I feel like, wants to go for the gusto. That doesn't mean to me that Crawford wins because he's small, but I'm just saying I believe more now that Crawford can win than I did originally when this was first being talked about.
Paulie sees something in Crawford that reminds him of Floyd Mayweather, a relentless drive to stay sharp, stay hungry, and dominate. He believes Crawford still fights with a chip on his shoulder, always looking to prove something. On the flip side, he questions if Canelo still has that same edge. When the going gets tough, Paulie suggests Canelo doesn't bite down the same way he used to. It's not just criticism, it's a challenge to the heart of who these fighters are, and for Paulie, that shift in belief now makes a Crawford win feel more possible than ever. Paulie didn't just keep the focus on the fighter's skills, he brought the politics of boxing into the spotlight. In a passionate moment, he shifted the conversation toward what he sees as a bigger issue: accountability. For Paulie, this fight isn't just about Crawford versus Canelo, it's about what it represents for the sport.
And I would love to see Crawford win, because I feel like if Canelo gets this payday, which is going to be a big payday, and then also gets the win out of it, it's just too much of a reward for outright ducking Benavidez and being allowed to duck his mandatory contender while holding all the belts hostages at 168 pounds for so long, and not letting that weight class run its course the way it should.
He believes a win for Canelo would reward all the wrong things, avoiding mandatories, stalling a division, and picking high-reward, low-risk fights. Paulie specifically called out the delay in facing David Benavidez, the rightful challenger at 168 pounds. To him, Canelo holding all the belts without defending them properly has hurt the division. That's why he's rooting for Crawford, not just as the underdog, but as the one who could shake up the system. It's a strong take, one rooted in frustration with how the game is being played at the top. While Paulie focused on the politics and mentality, veteran trainer Ronnie Shields brought the conversation back to pure boxing. In a recent interview, Shields gave high praise to Crawford, not for hype or headlines, but for what he sees inside the ring. Coming from someone who's worked with champions, his words carried weight.
It's a little different. Let me tell you something, man. Terence Crawford is one of the smartest fighters I've ever seen. Very smart, always in shape, you know, and he can figure out anybody. And it don't make no difference if it's two weight classes or not. If you have it here, and you have the skills to match this, that's tough to do, no matter who you are. It's not about power. Just because you're strong don't mean you're gonna win, you know? That doesn't work. You've got to have the skills in this game. And Terence Crawford has the skills to fight anybody in the world.
Shields called Crawford one of the smartest fighters he's ever seen. He highlighted Crawford's ability to stay in shape, adapt mid-fight, and figure out any opponent, regardless of weight class. To Shields, it's not about power or size, it's about skill, IQ, and discipline. He made it clear, Crawford has the tools to beat anyone, no matter how big or strong they are. It's that complete package, he believes, that makes Crawford dangerous, even against someone like Canelo. Shields didn't stop at praising Crawford's skill. He went even further, breaking down why a fight with Canelo at 168 makes sense. While others worry about size, weight, or power, Shields believes Crawford brings something to the table that can't be measured on a scale. He sees this fight as not only possible, but necessary for boxing.
Well, you know, the thing about it is Canelo would have to make 168. Crawford's not going to have no problem at 168. And like I say,
Shields pointed out that Canelo would have to make the weight like anyone else, but Crawford wouldn't be at a disadvantage. Why? Because his skills do the talking. He believes Crawford has all the tools needed to compete and win, even at super middleweight. For him, it's about legacy, just like past greats who moved up and shocked the world. He compared Crawford's situation to Roy Jones Jr., who climbed the ranks and made history. Shields made it clear, if the fans want the best to fight the best, then this is the fight to make. Ronnie Shields further drew a powerful comparison from the past to make his point clear. He brought up the classic Mayweather versus Canelo fight, not to relive old history, but to highlight what really wins fights. In his view, it's not about muscle or size. It's about the mind, the skills, and the IQ behind the gloves.
Some people would fly me for Canelo. Canelo was a bigger fighter. You know, he was bigger, he was stronger. Floyd was smarter. Floyd outsmarted Canelo. That just teaches you and shows you that you don't have to be a power puncher if you're going up 1 or 2 weight divisions. It doesn't work that way. It's here. It's here, your knowledge. Knowledge is king. And what It's the same thing with Crawford going up to fight a Canelo Alvarez, two weight divisions. Okay, Canelo probably walks around 190, maybe, or a little bit less, but Crawford probably walks around 180. You know, so 168 is not gonna be a problem for him. You know, and I don't. People keep saying, "Oh, but the weight difference." No, it ain't that. Crawford don't have to kill himself to get to 68. Canelo does.
Shields explained how Mayweather beat a younger, stronger Canelo, not with power, but with smarts. He sees the same potential in Crawford, who he believes has the boxing brain to neutralize size just like Floyd did. Ronnie also dismissed the weight difference concerns, saying Crawford walks around close to Canelo's size and won't be out of his depth at 168. In fact, he believes Canelo might have to cut harder than Crawford. To him, this fight isn't about who's bigger, it's about who's better. And with Crawford's skill set, Shields thinks it's a fight worth watching, and one Crawford can absolutely win. Adding another voice to the growing conversation, former fighter and trainer Troy Nash offered his honest take. Speaking from experience and personal connection, Nash didn't just analyze from a distance. He spoke from knowing Crawford up close, and what he said added a whole new layer of belief behind Team Bud.
I don't want to sound biased just because I know him and I'm cool with him, but Bud actually has a chance to really win in this fight. I think it's a 50-50 fight, you know. Canelo, yeah, he probably, people think he's probably the stronger person going into the fight with him been fighting at 168, but he started his career off at, I think, 147 and climbed his way up. So it's not like he was just a person that came in the game that big, you know. Bud is ready though. Like when it comes for fight time, I think Bud's gonna be 100% ready. He trains year round. Like he shows a lot of the young fighters the way, you know. He treats his body good. He doesn't drink, smoke, none of that. So when it's time to fight in a few months and we get to watch them work, I think Bud got a great chance of winning that fight.
Nash admitted he's close to Crawford, but made it clear his belief isn't based on bias, it's based on what he's seen. He sees the fight as a true 50-50 matchup and reminded people that Canelo didn't start off as a big guy either. He climbed the weight classes just like Crawford is trying to do now. What impressed Nash most was Crawford's lifestyle and discipline. He trains year-round, takes care of his body, and stays locked in, even when no fight is announced. That kind of focus, according to Nash, is exactly what gives Crawford a real shot when the bell rings. After backing Crawford's chances, Troy Nash made sure to show respect to the other side too. In a balanced follow-up, he spoke on Canelo's legacy and the criticism that often surrounds him. For Nash, it's not just about who wins, it's about recognizing greatness on both ends.
I'll say this is like the Bud and Canelo era. Canelo, he's slept on, man. He doesn't get enough respect and credit for what he's done. Canelo's fought, I mean, arguably the best fighters of this generation around his weight class. You know, of course we want to see him fight Benavidez, but besides that, I mean, who hasn't Canelo fought? You know, he went up to fight Bivol. He fought Caleb Plant. He's fought all the top guys, so he definitely deserves his credit. And even if he loses this fight, he still needs to be deemed as one of the greatest of our generation. If Bud loses, he needs to be deemed as one of the greatest of our generation. The fans just need to give both of them their credit, win or lose, because they're going to give us the fight that we want to see.
Nash pointed out that Canelo doesn't always get the credit he deserves. He's taken on some of the best fighters of this era, from Caleb Plant to Bivol, and hasn't ducked many along the way. Sure, fans want to see the Benavidez fight, but beyond that, Canelo's resume is stacked. Nash believes win or lose, both Canelo and Crawford deserve to be seen as all-time great. He called on fans to give them their due, not just for stepping into the ring, but for giving the sport a fight that truly matters. Bringing in wisdom from the old school, legendary cutman Jacob "Stitch" Duran added his voice to the conversation. Reflecting on a past exchange with the late Roger Mayweather, Stitch offered a perspective rooted in experience, where skill always outweighs size. For him, this fight isn't about pounds, it's about pedigree.
You know, Roger Mayweather, when I worked with him, the late Roger Mayweather, I was talking to him and he says, you know, nowadays, MFers, you know, they have all these different divisions. We used to fight guys of different weights. He goes, it's not the difference in the weights. He goes, it's the caliber of skill level that you have. And I always thought about that, you know. So can he beat Canelo? Of course. You know, can Canelo beat him? Yes. You know, so it's that type of fight. But I'm glad for Canelo because he's at the tail end of his career. You know, talking about Benavidez and all that. But that ship is already sailed. You don't need him.
Yeah.
You know, but Terence Crawford or Jake Paul, that's going to happen. That would have been great, you know.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah, but that's, you know, nice way for Canelo to finish his career.
Stitch recalled how fighters in earlier eras regularly faced opponents across weight classes, and the deciding factor was never size, it was skill. That's why he believes both Canelo and Crawford are capable of beating each other. It's that kind of matchup. He also acknowledged where Canelo is in his journey, saying the Benavidez chapter may have passed, but this fight could be a fitting way to close his career. No matter how it plays out, Stitch sees it as a high-level chess match, one that respects the legacy of both fighters while giving fans something real to talk about. After sharing his respect for both fighters, Stitch Duran gave his honest take on how the fight might unfold. Known for keeping things real, Stitch didn't sugarcoat it or lean into hype. He gave a calm, thoughtful prediction based on experience, and it had nothing to do with knockouts.
I think the chances, I don't bet, but if I was going to bet one way or the other, I'd go the distance fight. You know, I think Terence Crawford's smart enough to move for 12 rounds. You know, you're talking about getting hit solid. He has to get hit solid by Canelo. So, yeah, that'd be my prediction on that.
Definitely was.
So don't go bet money on me now. I'm not good at this stuff.
Stitch said if he had to make a call, he'd expect the fight to go the distance. He believes Crawford is smart enough, skilled enough, and disciplined enough to stay out of serious trouble over 12 rounds. Taking a clean shot from someone like Canelo isn't easy to avoid, but Stitch thinks Crawford has the ring IQ to do just that. Still, he joked that he's no gambler and not to take his word to the betting window. But coming from a guy who's seen it all ringside, his insight adds another layer to a matchup that has the whole fight world talking. Wrapping it all together, legendary boxing commentator Jim Lampley added a powerful perspective, one rooted in history, experience, and longtime belief. Lampley has called many of Crawford's biggest moments, and he's seen the rise firsthand, so when he speaks on Bud's ambition, it carries real weight.
In a prize fight, the problem is that Canelo's bigger, and he's significantly bigger. And in addition to being larger, Canelo's greatest capability, talent, to my way of thinking in the ring, is that you cannot hurt him. He has the best punch resistance in boxing. So the notion of the smaller, more lithe Terence Crawford going in and scoring a rampaging knockout over Canelo Alvarez, I just don't see it. I think he has to focus on trying to win the fight over the long course of the fight, create action and punishment over 12 rounds and look to win a decision. He will probably throw more punches than Canelo.
Lampley looked back to the early days when Crawford stepped in on short notice and dominated a fighter he wasn't even supposed to beat. From that moment on, Lampley says the ambition was clear. Crawford was built for greatness. He praised Bud's journey from the heart of America's fight culture and called him one of the most complete pound-for-pound fighters in the world. For Lampley, a fight with Canelo isn't just about legacy, it's about Crawford chasing the biggest challenge and the biggest payday the sport can offer. It's number one pound for pound chasing number one dollar for dollar, a matchup born from ambition, not hype. But while Lampley praised Crawford's ambition and skill, he also laid out the tough reality of what Bud is up against. Lampley shifted from admiration to analysis, pointing out the physical and strategic challenges that make this fight a mountain to climb. Lampley emphasized one key point: Canelo is not just bigger, he's significantly bigger. That size matters, especially when paired with what Lampley sees as Canelo's greatest asset, his chin. He called Canelo the most durable fighter in boxing, someone who simply doesn't get hurt. Because of that, Lampley doesn't see a knockout as realistic for Crawford. Instead, he believes Bud would need to rely on volume, movement, and smart pressure to win a decision over 12 rounds. It's a tough ask, but not impossible. The key, according to Lampley, will be whether Crawford can outwork and outthink the bigger man for all 36 minutes. After breaking down the technical side of things, Jim Lampley made it clear where he stands on the odd. While he respects Crawford's talent, his final thoughts leaned on something you just can't ignore: size. For Lampley, the physical gap sets the tone before the first punch is even thrown.
I think that Canelo is the logical favorite in the fight because we're starting from a place of a 21-pound weight difference. Maybe just too big a mountain for Crawford to climb.
Lampley pointed out that the fight starts with a major weight difference, nearly 21 pounds, and that's not something you can overlook. While Crawford brings speed, skill, and heart, Canelo brings natural size and strength built over years at higher weight classes. Lampley called Canelo the logical favorite for that reason alone. He believes that kind of physical edge could be just too much to overcome. It's not a knock on Crawford, it's just the harsh math of boxing when two elite fighters from different divisions meet. Legendary promoter Bob Arum also added his voice to the discussion. Having worked closely with Terence Crawford for most of his career, Arum knows exactly what Bud brings to the table. And while he didn't downplay the size gap, he made one thing very clear: if anyone can pull it off, it's Crawford.
Well, it's a big difference in weight with Canelo and Terence. But if any fighter has a chance with Canelo, it's Terence. Terence is a super talent, and he has a real chance, despite the weight disparity, to beat Canelo. A real chance.
Arum acknowledged the obvious. Canelo is the naturally bigger man, and that's a major factor. But he didn't stop there. He called Crawford a super talent, someone with the rare ability to overcome even tough physical disadvantages. According to Arum, the weight difference doesn't erase Crawford's chances. It just raises the stakes. In his eyes, this isn't just a tough fight. It's the kind of challenge that could define Crawford's greatness. And even with the odds, Arum believes Bud has a real shot at shocking the world. In a follow-up to his earlier remarks, Bob Arum dug even deeper into how he sees the fight playing out. With decades of experience guiding some of the sport's biggest names, Arum broke it down with the kind of honesty only a seasoned promoter can offer, and this time, he didn't shy away from picking a side.
It's very hard because of the difference in weight. I would think that if I had to bet the fight, that I would bet Terence, because Terence has more skills than Canelo. But he's given away a lot of weight, a lot of real weight, so that matters. But again, Terence is a tremendously skilled fighter. So is Canelo a very skilled fighter, but he doesn't have the same skill set as Terence does.
Arum admitted the weight difference is a major factor. Crawford would be giving up a lot of natural size, but despite that, if he had to put money on it, he said he'd bet on Crawford. Why? Because in Arum's eyes, Crawford simply has more tools. He respects Canelo's skill, but believes Crawford's versatility and fight IQ give him the edge. It's not an easy call, but Arum made it clear, even with the size disadvantage, he sees Crawford as the more complete fighter, and that's what makes this matchup so compelling. Adding a more skeptical voice to the mix, former world champion Mikey Garcia shared his thoughts on the business behind the fight. While most discussions focused on legacy, skill, and size, Garcia cut straight to the money, suggesting the motivation behind making Crawford versus Canelo might be more financial than competitive.
I think they do the Crawford fight. I'm not very excited for it either, but I think they do it because so much money that's being poured out there, and Crawford obviously also would like to take that fight because he's gonna make the biggest paycheck ever. Canelo will see it like a fight that he's not gonna get hurt. Even if he were to lose that fight, he's not getting hurt.
Yeah.
But he is gonna collect fucking 80, 100 million or whatever the fuck he's gonna collect. It's a lot of money, so he'll take it. I don't think he ever faces Benavidez or any of these other big guys like that. He's not gonna be risking getting hurt, no matter what price is out there. I doubt that they ever do those fights.
Garcia admitted he's not overly excited about the matchup, but believes it'll happen because of the massive payday involved. He pointed out that both fighters stand to make career-high purses, especially Crawford. For Canelo, my fight is appealing because it's low risk physically, but when it comes to dangerous challengers like Benavidez, Garcia doesn't think Canelo will ever take that chance. no matter the price. His take paints the fight as more of a smart business move than a battle for greatness, sparking more debate about what really drives the sport at the highest level. The talk around Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford has brought out every angle: legacy, skill, size, money, and heart. From Canelo's cold dismissal of Crawford to experts like Paulie Malignaggi, Ronnie Shields, Jim Lampley, Bob Arum, and Mikey Garcia offering strong but very different takes, one thing is clear: this fight has the whole boxing world buzzing. Some believe Crawford's skill can overcome Canelo's size, while others think the weight gap is simply too much. And then there are those who say the fight is more about business than boxing. At the end of the day, it's a matchup between pound for pound greatness and dollar for dollar power. One man chasing legacy, the other protecting his throne. But what do you think? Can Crawford really handle the size and strength of Canelo over 12 rounds? Is Canelo playing it safe or making a smart move? Would this fight be about who's better or who's better prepared? Should Canelo face Benavidez first? And does Crawford truly have the tools to shock the world? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tune in for more videos like this.